Welcome back to Mass Appeal. Choosing a major. It can be a daunting task to already overwhelmed college students because they're so busy having a blast. I wish I could go back to college.
Oh, yeah.
Either way, how can you help your son or daughter decide what's best for them? Joining us with tips, we have paulhemphill.com. You can find him at planning-for-college.com. Is that right?
Correct.
Pleasure to have you here. And that's the thing. Asking an 18-year-old what they want to do with their life, it's a terrible question because it doesn't really have an answer. Why is it such a bad question?
Well, because they don't have enough life experiences to direct them in the direction they need to go to make that decision. And the crazy thing is that I have parents bemoan the fact that, oh, my kid doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. And I say, well, did you know what you want to do with your life when you're 18? And the typical response I get to my question is, gee, I'm 48 years old, and I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So the most agonizing, thought-provoking, gut-wrenching, for the rest of your life, oriented or disoriented, is the decision to choose a college major, and it's really, really difficult.
It's so funny you bring up people's career choices. I interviewed once a man who ran the only turtle hospital in the country, a hospital for turtles. And I asked him, because I was 18 at the time, I said, how'd you do it? What career advice do you have for me? And he said, I still don't know what I want to do with my life, but I know what I don't want to do with my life. It's all the other jobs that I've done leading up to this.
Right.
So college, picking a major, it's so important seemingly. What do parents need to know about it?
Well, right now, 20 to 50% of students who are entering college enter undeclared, which means they haven't declared a major. And 75% of college students change their major at least once while they're there. Part of the problem is that the colleges give the students too many choices of majors. Some colleges have like 120 majors. When I was back in college, back during the dinosaur age, we had like 10 majors to choose from. That was easy. Mm-hmm. So now what's happened, of course, is, and this is a startling fact, that 81% of college students today take not 4 years to graduate, but 5 and 6 years just to get a bachelor's degree. So the New York Times study that came out in December wanted to figure out how much did that fifth year actually cost. Well, they broke it down into two areas. The first area was, well, what's it going to cost that extra year in college? Mm-hmm. And number two, how much income was going to be lost in that fifth year because the student was not out in the workforce. And they came up with a figure that exceeded a little over $68,000.
That's roughly per year. So God forbid you take the 6-year program, then it's twice that much.
Crazy.
And it's one of those things too, not to talk too much finance, but when you think about investing, you need to start early because the money you invest when you're younger, that's the money that really grows. Right. So what's the solution, Paul?
Well,
the million-dollar question.
It's great. It's a great question. And what I have all of my coaching students do is I send them to a website that basically helps them. The parents spend $79 on this website, and they go through a 45-minute exercise of answering a whole bunch of innocent questions about what they want to do, what they like, what they don't like, and then the answers come back in the form of 10 occupations that fit the personality characteristics of that student.
So it's thinking about the occupation as opposed to the major.
Exactly. So once they get the occupation down, then it's easy to connect the dots by saying, okay, what major do you need to have to get into that profession? And typically my students will look at least 2 or 3 of those professions and say, wow, that makes sense to me because this is what I've always thought about. Okay? And so then at that point, it takes all the mystery, all the guesswork out of choosing a major. It's really simple.
But then I can still conceive of one guess. So you get these 10 possible job occupations, but I imagine those are interdisciplinary enough that you could be a philosophy major for it. You could be an English major for it.
That's correct.
So how then, if there's maybe 2 or 3 majors that your careers keep circling back to, how do you make that even tougher decision to pick one of them?
It's a great question, and I have my students go to a government website, and it's called onetonline.org. Mm-hmm. And for example, I had a student last week who she found out that her assessments came up to go into the nursing profession. Well, she didn't know that there were lots of subcategories of that profession, so she put in the word nursing into that website, and up came like 14 different types of nursing professions, and she didn't have a clue that there were that many. So I said, okay, do your research on all 14 and narrow down what you think is the most appealing, and then go for that. And then we'll figure out what colleges offer the major that caters to what your real interest is. And it's really, really easy to do.
Yeah, if you break it down step by step, it can get a little easier. And I think we can't forget, too, about the minors. Speaking from personal experience, English major with minors in communications and theater. And I think those minors taking the time to explore those sub-career options really informed what I do today. And I think it's the same for a lot of people, because it can give you an opportunity to explore things you wouldn't otherwise.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So it's the bottom line here is, believe it or not, it's easy to find out what your college major is going to be before you go off to college.
It can save you and your folks a whole lot of money too. Paul,
tremendous.
always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And